there's such a bad thing, especially in the church, where it's like, oh, you have mental health issues. Oh, I'm just going to pray for you. And it's like, if you have a broken leg, who should I pray for? But no, you go to the doctor. So it's like, I'm going to be prayerful about God. You're going to heal me. And you're going to take my broken pieces and you're going to build them together. But in the midst of that, I'm still going to go through that healing process of I'm going to go to therapy. But at the end of it is I'm not making those things the only thing that matters. I'm going to walk with Jesus through this journey.
Hello, welcome back to African Tea. Today I'm going to do another music playlist / interview video, and today I'm going to be interviewing Nkhensani, who is a YouTuber. I'm sure most of you know her, and our theme for today is mental health. So I hope you enjoy.
So can you just start with introducing yourself?
All right. Well, hi guys. My name is Nkhensani. I am a content creator. I'm a student. Create content mostly on lifestyle and faith. Use my platforms first and foremost, obviously to magnify and glorify God. And then ultimately also then secondary, just to share my life. It's like whatever part of my life that I can just inspire and value. It's like friends just catching up together, and that's the whole point. And I'm hopeful that's what it feels like when everyone comes to my channel or any one of my platforms.
Yeah, I can definitely feel that familiarity, because I've never talked to you, but from watching your videos and your Instagram stories, I feel comfortable talking to you. It feels like I kind of know you. And also my friends also describe it the same way. They're like, wow, Nkhensani feels so familiar. I feel like she could be a good friend of mine. So you definitely did well with that.
Because I never want my platforms to feel like, oh, I'm the influencer and everyone is like my followers.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I don't even think of myself that way. I'm just a girl that just happens to be on social media and I'm like that.
Yeah, that's great. That's really great. So when I told you I wanted you to have the theme of mental health, what did you think? What first came to your mind?
When I first thought about it, I was just like, okay, I can definitely chat about it, because I think for me, I've had very various strides with mental health, my own struggles, and I'm just very big on it because I think my big mantra is I always want to be the person I needed when I was younger, and hopefully then with my platforms I can also then share those aspects where it's dealing with mental health issues definitely sucks, but it's I think one thing I've learned is how God carries you through. And I think looking now and being 23 and looking into my childhood, I'm just like, oh my gosh, look at how God has carried me through then to how I am now. So I was very excited because I'm very big on speaking about it. I'm very it's not something that should be, oh, it's taboo. Let's not talk about it. Let's not, the more open we are all about it, to be like, yes, I'm struggling right now. It's comforting to know that, oh, I'm not the only one. It just feels so nice. Recently I opened up about how I was struggling with the quarter life crisis. And in my head, I thought I was the only one dealing with the quarter life crisis, feeling like I should have my whole life figured out, but nothing makes sense whatsoever. And finally then putting that video out there and learning that there's so many people that feel the same way I feel, it made me so comforted to be like, oh, okay. So I think that's my approach with mental health. So I was like, I definitely want to talk about it because it should feel that way. It's I want to find community. I want to find people that I can talk about these things and feel like I'm not alone in this, because with mental health, it's you feel so isolated within what you're dealing with, what you're struggling with. And it's it should never feel that way. And from someone that's been very isolated, I never want anyone else to feel that. But yeah, that's my thing. I was like, oh yes, we're gonna talk about it, period.
Okay, so you mentioned that on your channel, your main theme is that you want to be the person that you wish you had when you were younger. So in regards to mental health, what kind of person did you wish you had to help you through that?
I think when I was much younger, I wish I had someone to have explained to me mental health issues, right? Because I think I fully only started to understand the fact that, oh, that was depression then. Oh, that was anxiety then. I had no idea what it was. But and how obviously at a young age dealing with those things, how those translate into you growing and now needing to be 23 and needing to navigate and heal from childhood traumas, needing to heal from those things that I had no idea about then. So it's now it's yeah, let's talk about these things. Let's talk about the fact that you'll have traumas, and the necessity of healing those, the necessity of letting God in and just taking those steps into like just finding healing. So I think when I was much younger, I really just wish that I had someone to, it's okay to feel that way. You know, it's okay. Because life is shambles right now. It's okay. And I think also I wish just being vulnerable, because I at my big age genuinely struggled to be vulnerable with people, to let people in, because I was so closed off and isolated. Because in what I felt and how I was feeling, I was like, oh my gosh, feels like no one should know about this, or I didn't have the ability to then just do that, because also I was so confused within myself to be like, what are all these feelings? But yeah, I just wish that there was like a sense of like, this is how, I guess, a blueprint, you know, like.
Yeah. Okay, so now let's get into the playlist. Can you just describe, is it like a journey, or are the songs in a particular order, or you can just shuffle, or what?
So with this playlist, I only like created like a very small one for you specifically, but I remember making a video just to like kind of give you like a story hand with the specific songs that I picked. I, like I said, very much struggle to communicate my feelings, be vulnerable and open up. And in that also translated in me just with my prayer life with God, how I communicate with God and all of that stuff. And God then gave me I guess, an outlet in order to communicate, and that was with worship music. And then it translated in me then creating playlists. So the one specific playlist I have one called Worship Music for Anxiety, which most of those songs come from there. But it was one of those things where in moments when I struggle to communicate how I'm feeling, or in moments where I'm going through a very negative thought spiral, if I am not okay, like I can put the worship music on that translates to exactly what I'm feeling. And as I am listening to that, in moments where I can't fully open up about that because I feel so low, the music kind of does that for me until like it strengthens me and builds me up to an extent where then I can then be like, okay, God, listen, this is how I'm feeling. So it's like, I think that's what worship music is. It's like ushering me into the Lord's presence. But I love how this one is specifically catered to specifically that. So when I am feeling overwhelmed, when I am feeling anxious, or when I feel like I'm getting a depressive episode and I'm feeling sad, whatever the case may be, if I am not mentally fine, basically, like it's immediately just switch it on. Because I think what we can do sometimes is I feel like I'm not okay, and then I then start to tackle it by myself. I want to figure it by myself, and then I isolate. I'm not going to tell everyone how I feel because it's shameful. And I think just the playlist helps me because, like I said, I'm not someone that just goes around opening up to people. So it's very hard for me. But then it's a one outlet with like, let me start by doing this. And also it's that thing of like, I want to run to God firsthand, even if like it shambles, like learning the art that I can trust God with the real me, and I can come to him when I'm feeling low and be like, listen, God, I'm not okay.
So then the first song on the playlist is Peace. And this is a song that I really like. I think it's also quite popular because it really just puts into words everything that you need. So why can you like describe why you put it in there, or is it just there's not really any detail to it, it's just that it speaks what you feel? Is that what it is?
With the song Peace, I remember when it first came out and I listened to it and I was just like, whoa, this song is literally communicating everything that I'm feeling, and kind of like solidifying the fact that in the midst of what I'm feeling, he's my peace. And like, I love the part where it says that peace is a promise that he keeps. So it's like in the moment where I don't feel peace, I can like rest in that. And like, I love how it speaks on the fact that like, dare anxiety like try to say anything, I will then proclaim that peace is a promise that he gives me. So when anxiety then lies to me and tells me that I'm alone, that I'm not worthy, that I'm not enough, or how dare I think that I'll deserve like maybe to be happy, to be filled with joy, to be filled with peace. The song reminds me that he made a promise, and also just reminding that God says he's a promise keeper. So it's like when I need peace, he will bring it to me. So, oh man, it was a song that came at like such a right time. It was a song I would literally play on repeat constantly because it just like hits all the points for you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So the next song is Still Waters by Steph. So can you talk about that one? Why you put that one?
This one, right? So this one, I was on Instagram one time and I saw someone resharing it, and she's like, this song is such a good song for when you feel overwhelmed. And I was like, let me listen to it and try to see why. And I'm just gonna open up my Bible because I wrote the lyrics that literally translate to the parts that I feel about it. But the part in still waters says, "So lead me beside still waters, be with me, restore my soul, stand by me. There is no other. Jesus, you're the only one." So it's like I love, like, it really is a song that just stops you from feeling overwhelmed because it reminds you that he's with you and he will walk with you until you reach those still waters. He will give you rest. Like when everything around you just makes no sense, it's to remember that he says, be still and know that I am God. Like you can trust that I'm going to give you joy. You can trust that I'm going to be your peace. One thing that has helped me with thought spirals and negative thought spirals is literally what the song says. It's kind of like to quote who God is. So it's like, if you know who your God is, it's like, I don't know what it does, but it literally just gives me peace. So it's like, I'm feeling anxious right now. When you feel anxious, you're going to start to think, oh my gosh, God probably doesn't love me, probably hates me. Oh, I'm not enough. I'm not worthy. Just you go down a negative thought spiral, but to stop at my tracks and be like, no, God is a God of love. He's kind. He's merciful. He said he's going to lead me beside still waters. He said he's going to be with me. He's going to restore my soul. Once you start to quote the truth of the matter of the fact is that, okay, I feel horrible right now, but this is who God is and this is who he says I am. It kind of like literally gives you peace.
Yeah. Yeah. And speaking those truths to contact the negative thoughts, how often do you do that? Do you do that like if you feel sad, or just like every morning, or like how often do you do it?
I think recently it's been an everyday thing, but then I'll do it 10 times more if I know that I'm having a bad day. One thing this year has taught me is, I don't know, this year I've had like very bad sleep issues and just a whole bunch of things. And one of the things that it taught me was to declare who God is. And it really does stop you in your tracks to be like, I could think today's a bad day, but to stop and say, God is good, he's kind, he's merciful, he says he loves me, he says he'll never leave me nor forsake me, he says he's with me always. Like there's something about that. It's kind of like you shielding yourself and being like, okay, it's a bad day, but I know who my God is. And even in the midst of the valleys and the lows, like I'm gonna grab a hold of that truth. Even if it sucks right now, like I'm not gonna let that make me lose sight of who my God is and who he says I am in Christ. So it really does help.
For someone who wants to is watching this and wants to try it, do they just say, like, look in the mirror and say it, or just sit on the bed and just say out loud that God loves me, God is love, I am worthy of love? How would they do that?
I think I just do it as I wake up and I'm like just making my bed and I'm just like, doing everything. So as I'm doing that, I'm just like, especially if I woke up feeling on the wrong side of the bed, it's like immediately then just as I'm doing everything to just be like, no, God is kind, he's holy, he's trustworthy, he's love, and all of these, as I'm just like doing everything, as I'm going to go get ready to go shower, as I'm getting ready, if I'm having my morning coffee, like just declaring that as my morning routine until then I sit down and then I open up the word and I just have my Jesus time. But it's like, if you want to look in the mirror, that would be quite helpful actually, because you like looking at yourself like, okay, listen, vibes. Not just random people, but listen, God says you are worthy. He calls you worthy than sparrows. He says you are worth more than rubies, so it's like if God says that about you, like walk in that even when you're in the valley. So I think it ultimately depends on you. I don't really like looking at myself in the mirror when I do it. I don't want to, like, if I'm having a bad day, like I don't want to look at myself and start crying. So it's like it kind of like creates the emotions if you're just doing whatever you're doing as you're going, and then like you just feel okay, cool, okay, I got this, and then you go, as opposed to looking at yourself and you're just like, oh.
Okay. So now I'm gonna skip to the song "He Understands" by Chandler Moore. So can you talk about why you added that one?
So I just love the song. Like it just says he understands. And I recently just finished reading the book of Psalms. And one thing I love about David is David was so open with God about his feelings. Like David was real. He was like, I'm in shambles right now. Life is the ghetto. It's not giving. But I trust you, God, in the midst of that. And I love that the part of how it says he understands. So it's like, he understands. And it also reminds me of Psalm 139, where it says, how God knows the innermost parts of you. Like God is the one who fully knows you and fully loves you. When you are like sad and you feel like, ooh, I feel like I don't want to disturb God with my sadness. God already knows that you're sad. It's like, if he already knows, shouldn't it give you a sense of trust that he understands what I'm going through? and that he'll carry me through it. Like, I think a lot of times we like to complicate our relationship with God to be like, I only want to come to him with the highs, never the lows, where it's like, God says he's with me always, you know, and if he was with David when he was going through what he was going through, if he was with Jesus on the cross, if he was with everyone in their lowest moment, then I can take heart that he's with me and he understands what I'm going through and that I can be real and vulnerable. Like, I can trust God with that part of me. I can trust him enough to be like, okay, God, this is what's making me feel this way. This is what's making me feel sad. This is what's making me feel depressed. This is what's making me feel very anxious right now. I'm really overwhelmed right now. Life is not giving. I'm going through a quarter life crisis. Nothing makes sense. I feel like in a world where society deems that by 23, I should have a car, I should be working, I should have my degree. I'm literally starting a whole entire new degree, you know, like so many things. Like, I am literally like, in a society that tells me, what are you doing? This is where we're going. Why are you going this direction? It's like God like reassuring me to be like, I understand and you're right where I need you to be.
Yeah.
Don't look for approval from other people. Look to me.
And then another thing, since we are talking about the song He Understands, is there one moment that you can highlight where you felt like, wow, God really understands me? Like, I don't know how, but like, is there a moment where you felt like that or where God showed you that?
Definitely my birthday. Definitely my birthday this year. This year I started the year and God said, okay, we gotta heal this year. Not this surface level type of healing, but we're gonna heal. And it was like such a year of such deep refinement where I was like, oh, healing sucks. It's hard. I went through a lot of lows. I had to like deal with traumas that I never wanted to go back to because they're too painful to deal with. And God just being like, I got this. And then just thinking to myself, oh my gosh, I pray that one day, like it's been a prayer since I was probably like 10. I pray one day that my family will one day be together, right? And for my birthday, then to see that actually translate and actually happen, I was like, he really does understand. Like, it was such a bad thing. Like, it was such a thing where it's like, you can't tell me that this wasn't God. Like, that after so many years of brokenness and dysfunction, and is it perfect? No, there's still a lot of family deep work that we still all got to go through, but the fact that he gave us all the opportunity to all sit together as one, you know, and it happened on my birthday, it was like, it kind of reassured me that, oh, this year's healing was necessary. When God said, I'm going to refine you, that you need to go through this process. This is what the process is, and you will reap the benefits of you being obedient to God healing you, to God leading you through moments that obviously are painful for you. I sat on that table and I was like, I can't believe that I have both of my parents, they have my brothers there, and everyone is joyful, everyone is at peace, everyone isn't thinking of, oh, this is what we went through as a family, oh, look at the brokenness, oh, look at the broken pieces. No, it's, oh, look at us now, we're all here together despite what tried to break us. You know, we're still here. So it's such a big God thing where I was like, he really does understand.
So now we are pretty much at the end, but is there one song that you wanted to like really talk about in the playlist?
One song I wanted to talk about. Can I talk about two songs?
Yeah, two songs.
Okay, so one of the songs I want to talk about is Before and After. It is by Elevation Worship in Maverick City. It's by Amanda Lindsay Cook, I think that's her surname. And when the song first came out, I remember listening to it. I think it was probably like 4 a.m. I had insomnia, I couldn't sleep. So I was just up and I was listening to the song and it had me weeping like nobody's business because it was such a deep song. So it starts off by saying, I'm a picture of your faithfulness, a miracle in process. God, I never would have guessed that you were working in the darkness. And there's also another part where it says, from the ashes, you make beautiful things. I know because you did it in me. So it's like looking back into the moments when my mental health was really, really low and really bad and very just awful. I'm like, whoa. From the ashes, he took that and he made beauty from those ashes. Like he took that and I'm like, I can see that in me because I think for the most part, a lot of people look on social media, oh, Khensani seems like she's happy all the time. She seems so joyful. She seems so, and I'm just like, that's Jesus, because I wasn't always like that. You know, God really just took me and like, he just like held my hand and he said, okay, let's go. Let's do what we got to do. It's such a beautiful song to remember that you are a miracle in process, that even when your mental health issues tell you that you're not. You are a miracle. You know, the fact that you are here, the fact that you still have breath. And I love the part where it says that he was working in the darkness. Like a lot of times God moves when you're not even expecting it. You think he's doing nothing, but he's busy. You know, he's working in the shadows. He's working when nothing makes sense. That's when God is he's most busy. And it's like after when you see and you look back, you're like, that really was God. Like, and then he gets all the glory that he deserves, because it's like no one else could have. I wouldn't have reached where I am right now had it not been for God. So looking back, it's like literally that way he said that before and after. I think I love the song because it's called Before and After, where it's like, look at before and look at after. And then look at that journey from that. It's like, that had to have been God, because I couldn't have done that in my own mind. And another song is called Made New by Spencer Annis. And it's another song that is just, it's very chilled, it's very calm. It's in my Be Still playlist. It's one that I do when I wind down at night. And I love the song because there's a part where it says, you make run down beautiful, you make broken invincible, all is made new. So it's like literally that, where you take the broken pieces of my life and you create something new. You say, I'm a new creation. I'm made a new creation because you took all my broken pieces and you put them together. You saw value in me. You looked at me and said, wow, you're a masterpiece. My anxiety playlist, the picture of it is like a picture, and it says mental illness, faith, anxiety, strength, fear, doubt. And it says, I am still his masterpiece. So I can deal with anxiety. I can deal with mental health. I can have faith. I can be strong, and I can still deal with these things. But he still looks at me and says, you're still a masterpiece. You're still mine. You're still chosen. You're still called. You're still purpose. And I just love that, where it's like, in the midst of when my mental health issues tell me I'm not, and I feel shameful for it, God is like, no, you're still my masterpiece. You know, you're still wonderfully and beautifully made. And I think that's the beauty of it all, to remember that I can feel lows, but I'm still his masterpiece. Like the journey you go through with healing, it's like you got to take the steps that you need to take. So it's like, I'm going to go seek him. If I need to go to therapy, I'm going to do that. If I need to take medication, I'm going to do that. But I'm going to do all these things, but I'm also going to have Jesus carrying me through it. I think there's such a bad thing, especially in the church, where it's like, oh, you have mental health issues. Oh, I'm just going to pray for you. And it's like, if you have a broken leg, who should I pray for? But no, you go to the doctor. So it's like, I'm going to be prayerful about, God, you're going to heal me. And you're going to take my broken pieces and you're going to build them together. But in the midst of that, I'm still going to go through that healing process of, I'm going to go to therapy. Should I need medication to do that? But at the end of it is, I'm not making those things the only thing that matters. I'm going to walk with Jesus through this journey.
Yeah. So we're done now with the discussion. Is there anything else any last words?
Any last words? Let me see. I feel like overall, it's okay not to be okay, right? Yeah. I think we look at negative emotions and we think that they're bad emotions. Like they aren't bad. Like your emotions were given to you for a reason. Like don't look at sadness as it's negative and I should constantly be happy. I should constantly feel joyful. That also is quite toxic if you're constantly happy and you're never feeling your actual feelings. So I think overall at the end, it's okay not to be okay. You know, it's okay for life to throw you some hard hits and like you are sad and you're not feeling okay. And it's like, oh my gosh, am I ever going to get through it? But I will also give you hope to be like, yeah, God definitely carries you through. And I think I am a testament of that. So it's like, if you ever need someone to look at to be like, okay, I feel like I'm never going to get through it. I can be that, wow, if God could do it through her, he can do it through me too. And also just the Bible also is quite a beautiful picture of all of those people that he used. And everyone in the Bible had a story where they had some level of brokenness and God took that with their brokenness and said, I'm still going to use you. You're still the vessel I want to use. So God never wants a perfect picture of you because you're not called to be perfect, you know. He says that the scripture in Corinthians where it says, in your weaknesses he is made strong. And then Paul would then goes and say, so I will boast all the more gladly in my weaknesses. So it's like when I am feeling low, I'm gonna be like, whoa, I'm low, but God is good though, because he's getting the glory. So it's like in my weaknesses, that's not the end. That doesn't mean that I'm on a low. He's magnified and he's strengthened through that. So it's like I'm not gonna then think that my weaknesses are bad things. No, if Jesus says they're good things because he gets glory for it and he works through that and he's healing me through it, then yeah, I'm gonna boast all the more gladly, you know. So yeah, those are my last few words.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to have this interview with me.